was your gift.
Was the cover case out there too?
Oh, no, I didn't look.
I'll
go look.
You know where, if it's not in the center where we usually...
Oh, let me do a test. Answer this question.
What question?
Where did you meet Dad?
Where did I meet Dad? In his mother's living room.
What were the circumstances?
Well, my friend Carol Chomick now, Engert, was meeting a boyfriend her parents disapproved of at Helen's house. They and Don and Jean were good friends, and Dad. And I was her excuse. I was her cover. She was going somewhere with me. And she told me, now don't pay any attention to Don's brother. He flirts with everyone. He'll flirt with you. Just ignore him. But I couldn't because he was so cute. Weren't you, Dad? And he was lying on the floor, as he always does to watch TV, in his pajamas. He was sick. He had a cold, Dad, or the flu?
I don't remember. That's 22 years ago.
At least. And so we were there visiting for a while. He took me in to meet Grandma Helen. And then Don and Jean had just bought a house, and they wanted Carol and Buck to go see it. And Dad suddenly got dressed and said, I'll come with you too, and was just giving me this big line the whole time. So charming, so cute, and made me laugh. Been making me laugh ever since, when I wasn't wanting to kill him. So we went back to his mom's house, and he said, you know, I work in Santa Monica. I go by your house all the time. And I said, oh, good. He said, is it okay if I stop in sometime? I said, sure, why not? And then you came by one night when Grandma was there, right, Dad?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Grandma.
Anything about it. I'm pleading the fifth.
Yeah. My Grandma Kate was there, and she was one of the few people in the family that liked him immediately.
The only.
The only one, he said. And she loved him because he always teased her. She was a teetotaler, and every time after that he would see her, he would say, well, Grandma, did you have your pint today? And she said, well, I haven't quite finished it, or something, flipped back to him. They always had a great rapport. But she loved him. Took some of the others a little longer. Brian and Kevin loved him. Because they liked to walk on his feet every time he came. And Dad was so particular about his shoes. And always had them shined to a fairly well, and it was as if they would hone in on him and say, oh, I'm gonna really screw this guy over. I'll just step on his feet. We know we can get his attention with that. And he'd have to try to be nice when he wanted to kill them.
Yeah, he's really good at that.
Yeah. They thought he was pretty cool. Yeah, we can eat a little early if you want.
Yeah,
We eat finally.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I hate the trip too.
Alrighty. Where shall we begin?
Where shall we begin?
At the beginning.
I was born.
Yeah.
It all started in a little radio station back in Detroit, Michigan.
Tell, okay, Okay, Dad, you can talk now a little bit. We're going to go back before you met. And tell me just a little bit about who you are, where you're from. Give me some background, as if I didn't know you.
You gotta remember, John, that I'm pushing 80, so some of the details are a little fuzzy.
But you remember where you were born.
Oh yeah, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and in a hospital called Children's Hospital, located at 103rd and Euclid Avenues in downtown Cleveland. Have been there since. The hospital's gone, and the area is not exactly the kind you would want to get out of the car and walk around. As a matter of fact, I had the camera in the trunk of the car, and my first wife said, "You're not getting out of this car to get that camera," because I wanted to take a picture of the street signs. 103rd St. Clair. That's where I was. St. Clair, not you. 103rd and St. Clair. Told you it was fuzzy.
I thought it was different earlier. The reason I didn't want him out of the car is I was afraid the drug dealers would get him. Or the ladies.
Oh yeah, I was a big time ladies man. Okay. Testing 4, 8, 12, 16.
You grew up in Los Angeles, though.
Well, yeah. That's because my parents brought me there when I was just under 2 years old. I liked it right away. I knew I was going to meet the girl of my dreams. I did. 27 times. And then along came Sheila.
Was the perfect.
Oh, yeah. I had been in the Coastal Protectors Association for 4.5 years. 4 years, 5 months, and 28 days to be precise. And I got around a little bit and saw some places. And I enjoyed most of them. I was in Alabama, and I was in Connecticut, and I was in Michigan, and I was stationed in Ohio as well. And I liked all of them. But coming back to California after I retired from the service was just great. And I took a job with a television company, manufacturing company, and I was working as a technician at the end of the product line. Before they shipped the televisions out the door, they tested them, and if they failed, I was the lucky guy. I was one of 2 or 3 guys that got to repair them before they were shipped out the door. So that's where I was, and that was in Santa Monica. That plant was in Santa Monica, and I was living at the time with my parents in Monterey Park. It was one heck of a drive, but I worked out of the Alhambra office not far from Monterey Park, but was called in at Christmas time to do this job. So that's why I had the opportunity to go right past Sheila's door on occasion, like every day. It was just 2 minutes out of the way to pop in and say, "Hi, I'm still here. You want to get married or what?" And
But, okay, tell me about when you first met Mom. How did that all come about?
oh, yeah, it was in the phone book. I just call a girl to your house number. And she showed up on my doorstep with her friend Carol Chomick. Not Carol Chomick, Carol Engert, previously to Chomick. And I was lounging around in my PJs, just flexing my muscles for her when she came in. And I said to myself, "Whoa, I like that. I fancy that chick." So I took her in for my mother's approval and got it. She went. Just as she was leaving out of her hearing range, Mom said, "Cute." And I thought, you don't know the half of it. So it was instant attraction, I fell down on my knees and begged her to let me come by her house on occasion. And she said, "Not in your life, turkey head," or something like that. But anyhow, I persisted. And the rest is history.
Okay, what about the fact that...
Well, wait a second. I want to add one more thing.
Okay.
To this day, we debate this. I was drunk. And she said I proposed. Told everybody. I don't believe it. I never remembered it. To this day, I think I was taken advantage of.
Oh, okay. You were. So well.
And I proposed to her in the parking lot of Tiny Nailers Drive-In.
Right. But you were so drunk, but you still remember where you were.
Well, I was down on my hands and knees trying to throw up, as I recall, and you mistook it for a proposal.
Oh, God, you are bad.
So, you know, she told me it was, and so what are you going to do?
And what about the other men in your life
The other
who you
men?
were engaged to?
Oh, poor little Johnny Koval. Dad and I were just talking about him the other day because it was Christmas Eve, and that's when I disposed of Johnny and accepted Dad's proposal all in one fell swoop.
And not only did that happen, but I managed to lose my job that same night. I'm not sure whether it was you're fired or I quit. It was a combination of both, I think. But we had a date. Mom and I had a date to go to Mass. I think it was 6 o'clock Mass. After which, she was going to let me know whether she was going to accept my proposal that I never made. So I was not going to screw around. I was going to make that Mass. And I was working at the factory, helping deliver these television sets on Christmas Eve, and that was a big, big load. I mean, there were tons of television sets that had to go out that day for, obviously, Christmas the following day. And I had called in several times during the day saying, look, I'm willing to work. I'm willing to work long and hard, but I've got to be out of here by 5 o'clock because I've got to drive all the way back to Monterey Park, clean up, get dressed, and then back to Beverly Hills and be there by 6 o'clock. So when it came time for me to say, okay, that's it, I can't do this anymore, I got to go, the head mother came in and said, well, we're all working. And I said, I can't. I've made a commitment. I cannot work. And he said, we're all working. And I said, I cannot work. I guess that means I'll have to just resign or what? He says, yeah. Well, I said, okay. So when I met her, I was out of a job. How does that grab you? The old man, the father, Dale, God rest his soul, thought that was great. Here I am, going to marry his daughter, and I don't have a job. And no promise of one. Okay, well, the rest is history. Again.
Do me a favor and just explain in a sentence or two the situation that you were engaged to this guy named, just tell me briefly with that.
Johnny Koval.
Johnny Koval. Just Johnny and Koval and I had been classmates since we were in grammar school, and we dated through high school, and after high school he went to Seattle University, and when he came home the end of his freshman year, he said when he graduated he wanted to marry me, and man, I've been waiting to hear that a long time because I really liked him. And I said, okay, and it wasn't official with a ring or anything yet, just an agreement between the two of us that we would get married when he graduated. And I would work like a good girl and we would save money and start off nicely, but then along came Dad. And that was the end of poor Johnny Coble.
Excellent. What made you, when did you tell me about coming to the decision to ask Mom to marry you? Tell me about that. What were you thinking? It's a big decision in a young man's life. You didn't have a job.
I did have a job at the time that I theoretically proposed.
Theoretically, I like that.
Excuse me. I get all choked up when I think about it. Well, I'll tell you what I told her. How's that? I like the way you talk. I like the way you walk. I like the way you express yourself. I like everything about you. You want to get married or what? I think that's what I said.
Well, you said those things, but first you kept saying, come on, why don't you run away to Las Vegas with me?
Did I do that?
Yeah, and I said, no way, Jose. I'm having a real wedding.
Well, I didn't even have money to take her to Las Vegas, so what the hell? I think we might have had a couple of nickels at that time, but I remember when we got married, before we got married, we borrowed some money from the Bank of America, where she had a tie-in because A, she worked there for a while, and B, her uncle was the vice president. And he only charged me outstanding interest when we borrowed the money. That's not true. I don't remember what he charged, but it wasn't
You
free.
didn't do it anyway, Mr. Phillips did.
Yeah. But it was it was approved by your uncle.
I don't know that.
Yeah, because we went to see him. I remember that.
Oh, good. Well, see, you remember more than I do.
And once in a while, the neurons fire. And when they fire, they glow. Also, by the way, for those of you unmarried in the listening audience and the looking audience, I made it a point to make sure that she paid for the wedding license. I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't sure about her. As it turns out, she's been rubbing that in ever since. That $2 that she spent on me, she keeps saying, wasn't worth it.
I might be telling a story when I say that. Might be.
Okay, you got to be sick of us by now, right?
Not just begun. So you tell your parents about that you've been asked to be married. Okay, so you break the news to your parents.
Yes, it was Christmas night. I had gone to Dad's mother's house, Grandma Helen's house, for Christmas dinner with his family, and Mom and Dad and the boys had gone somewhere else for Christmas dinner, and we got back to Beverly Hills before them, and we were waiting there anxiously to tell them that we were going to get married. And when they came in, and I don't remember it all exactly. Except
I
that
recall vividly.
Well, Dad told him that he wanted to marry me. And he says, I don't remember this part. He said Grandma Rose physically went, oh. And so we just had a little discussion. They were fine. But when he left, my dad said to me, you want to marry somebody that says no snot locker, because he had used that expression at breakfast in the morning, and my dad didn't think that was very classy. My dad did have his classy moments, although he had his South Dakota moments too, which always made us laugh. But anyway, they went along with it. They didn't try to stop us or anything. They said fine. But It took them a little while to warm up to Dad, but when they did, they loved him like another boy.
It didn't take long, like 25 years is all. No, that's not true. It took a little while, yeah. I think we'd had maybe 3 kids before they finally said, well, I guess he's going to stick around. And those 3 kids are here. There's one there, and one there, and one over there. And plus, what, 2 more? Oh my God.
Tell me, is there anything interesting about the preparation for the wedding itself?
I did nothing except buy a new suit and a new tie. The suit cost me $45. The tie cost $1. I was broke after I did that. I don't recall doing anything else except showing up.
Well, you went with me the night before the wedding to pick up our wedding cake.
Well, that's true, and we did take our little trips over to the priest to have our instructions, which were not really instructions at all. I thought maybe he was going to tell me, how to work it out on the wedding night, but nothing like that ever came up.
Father Schneiders.
That's right, Father Schneiders.
Well, you had to get your wedding party. You had to arrange for that. You had to decide who that was going to be. Tell me about that.
That took about 10 milliseconds to make that decision.
Well, who was in your wedding?
My wedding party consists of my brother and Norby Kowalski, who was the husband of Sheila's best friend and turned out to be one of my best friends as well. I mean, both of them, Norby and Mina. God rest his soul, he was just a lovely man. And Mina, we've had our doubts about her, but she's okay. She's there, by the way. Hi, Mina, how are you?
You forgot one.
Did I forget one? Oh, Dwayner.
Right.
Yeah. Sheila's brother. My brother, her brother, and a perfect stranger, Norbert Kowalski. And that was a no-brainer. It was an easy one. Sheila, on the other hand, had a house full of people, maids of honor and best lady and all that good stuff.
Okay, Mom, tell me.
I had the same amount that he did. Mina was our matron of honor because she and Ski were already married, and Carol Wortman Price was another maid of honor. Those were the 2 that I wanted to have. And then I invited his sister-in-law, Jean, to be in the wedding party because his brother was in. And that was okay. It was not, she would not have been my first choice, or even my 17th, but I was trying to be a good person then. And it didn't make any difference. She was still a witch.
She wasn't my 17th choice either, so we did agree on a lot of things, even then. But we got through it. I only cried once, big time at the end.
And we had one adorable little ring bearer.
That's true. Another brother. And we had an altar boy, another brother, and a cousin.
Right. 2 altar boys.
Yeah.
Brian and John Tisano.
Yeah.
And they were so cute.
Well, John still is.
And I had 2 or 3 showers, and those were lovely parties. And then the night before the wedding, Mom and Dad had a few people over for cake and coffee, and Perry Brinkmeyer. Perry Brinkmeyer was my boss at the Bank of America, a very nice man. A first-rate drunk, but a very nice man. And he came by too. It was so cute. And just joined in with the family.
He had a thing for her, drunk or not, he knew what he was doing.
Poor old Perry. Every Monday morning when he came into work, it was pathetic. But he stayed on with the Bank of America for a long time. Once he got going on Monday. He was a hard worker all week. And then the weekend would come and it would all be over again.
Okay, so how about just impressions of the ceremony itself? What do you remember about that? Besides crying, you cried at the end, but...
I didn't cry at the end. I cried after everything was over and we were filing out of the church. And all of a sudden I looked up and there's 13,000 people, CBS, NBC News, C-SPAN, whatever. And I couldn't believe, that was the first time that I had noticed how many people there were. And they were all rushing towards us. And I said, oh my God, what have I done? And I cried.
He wanted his mommy.
Wanted my mommy. I said, I've ruined my life now.
Oh, God, you're going to get it good.
No, that's not true. I was just overcome. I was so happy. That was a happy cry, I think.
John, you're going to have a lot of editing to do here, too.
And what do you remember about this?
I remember that I was so nervous, and we have one picture as I look back that was taken as Dad and I were walking down the aisle, and I just looked like a deer caught in the headlights. I was so scared.
Oh, contraire. I thought, this is going to be my wife. What a gorgeous creature. All in white. Whoa. Yeah, you were really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, that changed the next day. No.
It was a lovely ceremony and a mass and everything, and when it was over, we had some nice neighbors on Carson Road who made all of our wedding party a beautiful breakfast. And then we had a reception at St. Timothy's Church out on Pico Boulevard.
No booze.
No, we had punch and cake, very simple things in those days.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the big, well, at least people of our class, they weren't the big soirees that go on today with dinner and the whole works. But it was lovely. It was very lovely.
It might have been frugal, but it was gorgeous. It was just a lovely ceremony and a lovely whole thing. The dinners and the reception. God, I remember we had the reception line with your folks, my folks. Mm-hmm. And it was great. Yeah.
And then, of course, after the reception, Mom and Dad had a big party back at their house with all kinds of food and everything for the family, mostly family. We always stick with family. Family gets fed.
Yeah. And the honeymoon cost me a fortune.
Right. One of Dad's friends gave us, for a wedding gift, the use of his cabin at Big Bear Lake.
Right.
And
free.
Yeah.
So the only thing I had to do was feed her.
That was not always the easy part, was it? But we drove up to Big Bear Lake that night, and of course, being February, there was snow and ice everywhere, and the man who lent Dad the cabin told him where to turn on the gas and everything, because naturally the
water was turned off.
Had to be turned off. And so Dad found all those things, had to dig in the snow to find things. And when we got inside, we found out that it was so cold in there that the water in the toilet was frozen. And if you wanted to get a bath, there was no such thing as a shower. You could get a bath. You could get about 2 inches of water before it turned ice cold. So.
I think they had a 5-gallon hot water heater. It wasn't very big.
Well, we had a good time, and we met some people there who invited us to come over to their house, and then on the third day, Dad got the flu.
Yeah, well, I was sick of her by that time.
And so we came home, and I nursed him for a couple of days.
Came home early, yeah. We came home a day or two early, didn't we?
We started getting our little, darling little apartment settled. It was so cute. It was in a triplex in Montebello.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we had some quite interesting neighbors there. They were Italian, and they were just the most jubilant people and friendly and effervescent. They made their own wine every year. Oh, God, they had a grand time making their wine.
Mm-hmm.
But this man loved to sing, and we heard from him about 8,000 times while we lived there. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, lots amore. I remember that about our apartment, and that everybody that lived in the little triplex and those people next door sort of adopted it.
Mm-hmm. And what I remember about that triplex is our little apartment was very small, but it was adequate. Not like we need a whole lot of space. And I came home one day, and from my laborious job, trying to hustle people into letting me fix their television sets for a fee. And I noticed that there were some newspapers here and there, and a magazine here and there, and something. And I said to my first wife, "Gee, this place looks a little cluttered." And she said, "Well, it's so small, that's the way it's going to look." And I said, "Oh, okay." And some 20 years later, 35 years later, we had a 6-bedroom mansion in Cupertino, and I walked in one day and said, "Gee, this place looks cluttered." And she said, "Well, it's too big." And I think for those of you out there contemplating marriage, it's just going to happen. You got to bite that bullet and say, "Hey, it's going to be cluttered." Big, small, cluttered. Actually, I'm sure I contributed to it too. But after a while, you kind of forget about expecting somebody to go behind you picking up your stuff. You're going to have to do it yourself. Kids never did. I shouldn't say never. But it rarely happened. I remember Mom saying, "If you're going to leave your bedroom like that, close the door."
Mom, I want you to tell me a little bit, just a short bit, I'm going back again before wedding, about your, what is that sound?
A frog.
It's a loud frog.
It is a loud frog.
And it's only about that
big. It's big.
Just a little background on you. Growing up in LA, talk about growing up in LA and your family, and just a few words. How did you like growing up in LA?
I loved growing up in LA. We had a great time. We lived in Southgate for a while. That's when Dwayne and I were young. Mom and Dad bought their first house in Southgate. And as soon as Dwayne got a little older and they built Southgate Park, we spent many a happy summer day over there all day long. We would go over in the morning. We might come home and get lunch, or we might pack a lunch, and just had a great time. We had bicycles, and we could ride wherever we want. We went to St. Helens Grammar School while we lived in Southgate, and we took the bus. Or occasionally I lost Dwayne, and that would be a little troublesome to me, but it never seemed to bother Dwayne. And then after the war ended, Brian was born in 1945, and after the war ended, things were pretty tight for the post office people for a long time, and Mom and Dad decided they couldn't afford that house anymore, so they sold it, and we moved in with Grandma Kate, and we lived there for a couple of years, and Kevin was born while we lived there. So it was quite interesting. Grandma had 3 bedrooms, and in the front bedroom it was Mom and Dad and Brian and Kevin. And in the middle bedroom was my Uncle Al and Dwayne. And in the back bedroom were Grandma and myself. And we had 1 bathroom, and you know what? It just all seemed to work. And then we moved down to Aunt Joni's, the big greenhouse, and we lived there until 1952 when we all moved to Beverly Hills. And I only lived there for a few years, since I was 20 when I married this man. But I had a really, really, really happy childhood.
I fixed that real fast.
Okay, and what went into your thinking, your thought process when he asked you to marry him? Why did you decide to marry him? Why did you say yes?
Well, nothing terribly profound. I liked being with him. He made me laugh. It always makes me laugh. And it was just good to be with him.
I make her cry, too.
I do, but it's, as you say, happy crying. And I thought we could have a good life together, and by God, once more, I was right.
See there? Neener. To all of you who said it would never work, and you know who you are.
So, 50 years is a long time.
Right.
Yep.
What do you have to say about it all? What are your impressions after all these years? You still seem to get along pretty well. How's it been?
We do get along very well. We still enjoy each other's company a lot. And I don't know about Dad, but I can't believe it's been 50 years. I don't know where the heck they went, because it seems to have flown by. And for the most part, it's been real good. There were times when I wanted to kill him, and he wanted to kill me, but that's just normal.
There were times when dinner was scrambled eggs
Or pancakes.
and Mom was kiting checks. That's a story that has to be told someday.
With my friend Annette Taylor in Connecticut.
Yeah. And then there's a story of the bonds that I was saving so that we would have something put aside for a rainy day. And somebody got into the bonds and spent them all and never told me about it.
Unfrivolous things,
Yeah.
like food and
But I
mortgages.
didn't kill her then. Wasn't even inclined towards it. But yeah, it's been great 50 years. If it gets there, I mean, we're still a month away roughly, and she might kill me between now and then, who knows? But I can't think of not being with her. I wouldn't know how to do it.
I'm gonna cry.
Me too.
And, let's see, are you ready for anything?
Yes.
Have I told you of all the wonderful places he has taken me? The first time, except from Battle Creek, Michigan, when I was 5, that I was ever out of the state of California, he took me to New York. And since Big Bear Lake, fabulous Big Bear Lake, we've had some wonderful vacations. When the children were small, we always went to, for a couple of years, we rented trailer and we would go different places. We would go water skiing with the Dugans and up to Lake Isabella and always had a great time there. And we went to Tahoe one year with the Tubiolas when there were only, I think, 16 of us in the cabin with one bathroom. Mm-hmm. And so much, we always had a lot of fun. We always had really good friends. And but then as things got better in our life financially later on, we've had some really great trips and seen a lot of the world with Dad and really enjoyed it a lot. He's a good traveling companion, but he's the best traveling companion when we're driving in the car.
Why is that?
Oh, we just enjoy taking in the scenery. And oh, by the way, up the road a couple 100 miles, if you go right, you can get to Yellowstone. You want to do that? Sure, tell me when to turn. He's an easy guy to go with, and we've done that several times and always had a good time.
Many times, yeah. Yeah. Not to mention things like Australia was a nice trip. She's been to Europe several times with her parents. I went only once with her to Ireland. We've been to the French Polynesian Islands, Tahiti and Bora Bora and Moorea. Love those places. Been there a couple of times. And yeah, it's been great. We just get along swimmingly, as we say in the trade.
Let's see. That's a lot of good stuff.
What about our wonderful children?
What about your children? What? And then.
And then there were 5.
So, yeah. What about children?
Well, our children were good kids, darling little kids. Pretty good kids all the way through. Didn't give us too much trouble. A couple were rather challenging, but they have become the most wonderful adults. And
Well, they have made me, every one of them has made me very proud.
And we love them and are very proud of them. They're good, loving people.
I'm just thankful I didn't kill them as often as I threatened to kill them if they didn't straighten up and fly right. And I don't think there's an exception there. I only spanked my daughter once, and she wouldn't talk to me for 15 years, or seemed like 15 years. What was it, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
She ignored me, and it just tore me up. So I never touched her again. The boys were another matter. They not only talked to me, but they would taunt me. Yeah, is that as hard as you can hit me?
That's not true.
No, but I can't remember too many times that I had to take that kind of action with my kids. They were all. Well, of course, I was somewhat sheltered in that I traveled, and Mom wasn't going to rat on them when I got home, I guess. So I didn't have the problem that she had with day-to-day, every day, living with the problems and dealing with them.
Did you talk before you got married? Did you talk? What things did you talk about? You have to talk about having kids and
We did.
all that other stuff. What happened?
We did talk about having kids, and I wanted 6 children, and he went along with that.
No. I said 6. So I cut her off at 4. And then something happened, I don't recall what it was, and I said, oh, okay.
Not okay.
And there he is, right there. Hi, John.
And then, because we had these beautiful children,
We have great
beautiful grandchildren.
grandchildren, yeah.
And we love them a lot, and they're a lot of fun. And we don't get to see them as much as we would like to, but we talk occasionally and we visit. When we visit, we have a very good time.
Yep. But even though we're, 2.5 hours away from the closest, I think we see them as often as we did when we were an hour away.
Probably, because everyone is very busy.
Everybody has their life and they're doing well. So for the most part, we have just as much fun being 2.5 hours away as we did when we were 1 hour.
So this occasion, the event itself, why did that's a big deal. What thought process went into deciding to have this big soiree at Disneyland?
Well, that was mainly me.
No, it was only her.
There was partly you. You said okay.
Yeah, well, that's been my lifestyle, okay.
That's true. I thought that it was so special to us that we made it these 50 years and hopefully a few more added on if Dad decides not to run away. If he runs away, well then, it'll all be done, but that's beside the point. I wanted to do something where the family would all be together and it would be memorable for us, the children, the grandchildren, the family in general, and we're so happy that so many of them, everybody could come and be with us. That's the really
And some
part.
very special friends as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Disney is not my favorite place. I mean, we've been to Disney World and I came away being a grunt because they wanted a fortune for the rooms and there's no coffee. You got to get up in the morning and you could get coffee if you ordered room service. I was ripped at that. So anyhow, I was not all that in favor of Disney, but I said, what the heck, we'll give him one more chance, and if he screws up this time, that's it. So anyhow, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great 3 days.
Anything you want to talk about?
Well, there was the time that Mom got away when I was on a trip and got pregnant. But we're not going to talk about that.
Oh, God, you're bad.
All right, well.
What did you say to me about the DNA, Dave?
Oh, yeah, well, I'm taking her on Maury's program. Maury Povich, what he'll do is he'll run DNA tests on you and all your kids and make sure that they're all yours. So I want to do that. I want to make sure that all the kids are mine. I'm really sure they are all hers. They're mine.
We're just a charming couple.
Yeah. We have our moments. I'm more charming than Dad.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. However, I am cuter than she is.
True.
And a hell of a lot older.
No, just a little.
Oh, okay.
Just bring maturity.
But we have a great life. And my only hope is that our kids can enjoy life as much as we have. And have the kind of a soulmate that I have had. That is a great life.
True. Very true.
And now for my next number.
Yeah. Yeah. All the different places we've lived.
Oh, God, yeah, all the different cars we've given to our kids.
You know, we've been there. Everybody knows about that. We have moved around a little bit. We must have a little bit of gypsy in our soul.
Yeah, I think to us that, I think 13 years is the extreme limit for our tolerating a place to live. We lived in Cupertino for 13 years. We lived at the Villages for 13 years. That makes up half of our married life together, a little more than half. We've only, well, let's see, we lived in Connecticut for almost 5 years. We lived in Huntington Beach. How long did we live there?
7.
7 years. We lived in Torrance for
A nanosecond.
a nanosecond and a half.
About 7 months. We lived in Manhattan Beach.
Manhattan Beach was our first home purchase. It was just a little bitty box, about 900 square feet or so, with 2 bedrooms and a bath and a 1-car garage that I managed to make into a half-car garage when I drove the car through the door.
The driveway went downhill, and he had this little, was it the MG you put through the door?
No, it was the Ford, or was it Ford.
Whatever. Forgot to put the brake on, the emergency brake on, and it rolled into the garage door. But then he built one beauty of a garage door to replace it. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
We lived there for 2.5 years. We lived in Monterey Park, in Grandma Helen's house for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in Montebello. Is that every place? Yeah.
Pretty much. I can't think of anything else, anywhere else.
Tell me just some facts about the wedding day. Like, we got married at this church on this day. Do you remember what day of the week it was?
It was on a Saturday.
Oh, I'll take that from you. Just give me a few words. Hello.
Hello there, John.
All right, tell me about the wedding day itself. When and where did it take place?
The wedding was in St. Peter's Church in Los Angeles, actually right on the border of Beverly Hills, on February 4th, 1956 at 10 a.m. in the morning. And it was a mass, and it was very lovely. And what else do you want to know? The weather was beautiful.
Hold it. I'm coming in. I want to hear this, just to correct her when she's wrong.
Do you remember who officiated?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I do. Father Joseph Schneiders was the official who said the Mass and married us. And there was a wonderful young man who sang at our wedding.
Johnny.
No, that Father Schneiders got for us because we didn't know anyone who sang. And the young man's name was Paul Solomonovich.
Oh, not Johnny. Yeah.
And he became the director eventually of the Los Angeles Symphony Chorale and the Roger Wagner Chorale. He was a very famous musician. And the first time he opened his mouth to sing during our wedding, I think everyone wanted to turn around and look and see who it was because he had such a beautiful voice. And that was quite a highlight, I thought, of the wedding. That was very nice. That was a pleasant surprise to us.
So every little girl dreams about their wedding day.
Yes.
Did your wedding day compare your fantasy to the reality?
It did. It did indeed. Mother had a friend that she worked with at the Beverly Hills School District who knew this young lady who lived out in Sherman Oaks who was trying to start her own bridal design business. And she took us out there to meet this young woman. And I basically told her what I wanted in a wedding dress, and she designed exactly what I wanted. It was really pretty. And one of the things I wanted was like a crown. You know, I always wanted to be a princess anyway, don't we all? And it was part of the lace that was on the dress was scalloped, so she made a crown with the veil for the veil, and it was very pretty. And Johnny Tisano, who is my Aunt Janet's brother-in-law, had a flower shop in downtown Los Angeles, and he did beautiful flowers, and he did our bouquets, and they were very unusual and quite beautiful. Everything turned out really pretty, and I was really happy with everything. So it met all my expectations. And
I never wanted to be a princess.
But you are a prince.
Well, I had to buy shoes too, but you did also.
I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, my $45 suit and $1 tie was $15 less than your wedding dress.
Just give that to me in a sentence. My wedding dress cost.
My wedding dress cost $60. And also the bridesmaids' dresses, this lady designed also. I thought they were lovely, but of course they could never wear them again as usual. But they looked lovely that day.
Oh, the cake.
The cake.
When you're cutting cake and you feed it to each other.
Uh-huh.
Didn't you guys do the whole in that face?
No.
Oh,
No.
I didn't want her to leave me the first day of the marriage. No, we didn't do that.
I don't remember what things happened at the wedding.
No, nothing outstanding.
Just stories.
Okay.
I have them as facts.
In the groom's party were Don Downs, Dad's brother, Norbert Kowalski, Dwayne Smith, and the bridesmaids and matron of honor were Mina Kowalski, Carol Wertman, and Jean Downs. And the ring bearer was Kevin Smith. And the altar servers were Brian Smith and John Tisano.
So Dad crying is a famous image.
Yes, yes.
What did you think when you saw Dad crying? Was that the first time you ever saw him cry, or?
No, yes. I actually did not see Dad cry. I was ahead of him, and I didn't realize that he had cried until someone gave us a gift of the movies they had taken of our wedding. And I thought someone had said something to you just as you came out the door that set you off a little bit. And actually, Dad cried then, just as he did now. The eyes well up, and he gets out the handkerchief and blows his nose. That's what he was doing, wiping his eyes a little bit. And since then, I've seen Dad cry every time he had a new child. He was very, very emotional every time he had a new child. And then now,
Just at will.
the two of us sit and watch TV and cry. We're very good criers together anymore. We're just two old softies.
In more ways than one.
He's wiping his eyes now.
So, in a sense,
Yes.
how has marriage to Tom Barrett been for you? You can use more than one.
Okay. Marriage to Tom Barrett has been the best thing that ever happened to me.
Of course. All right, I'll stop the torture. Okay,
And he's back on the floor again. Right where he was when I met him the first time.
Thank you